The transport pod hummed softly as it descended through Earth's atmosphere, carrying its precious cargo toward what was supposed to be a new beginning. Inside, Zylara pressed her delicate, translucent fingers against the viewing panel, watching the blue planet grow larger beneath her. Her skin shimmered with nervous patterns of pale, green, and silver, bioluminescent colors that betrayed her anxiety to anyone who understood Valesian body language. She had prepared for this moment for months. An arranged marriage to Ambassador Marcus Chen, a high-ranking human diplomat, a union that would bind her aquatic people, the Valesians, with humanity in an alliance of mutual benefit and understanding. Her family had been honored by her selection. She had studied human customs, learned their primary languages, and resigned herself to a life of diplomatic service. The pod's navigation system beeped, announcing arrival at the destination coordinates. Zylara adjusted the environmental suit that maintained the moisture levels her skin required in Earth's dry air. Through the misty faceplate, she checked her appearance one final time. Her flowing robes, woven from bioluminescent fibers, caught the light beautifully. She wanted to make a good first impression. The pod settled onto solid ground with a gentle bump. The door slid open, and Zylara stepped out onto a concrete walkway, her webbed feet touching Earth soil for the first time. She looked around, confusion rippling across her skin in waves of amber light. This was not what she expected. Instead of the towering glass structure called Horizon Towers that she had seen in the briefing materials, she stood before a small, single-story home. The building looked worn but well-maintained, with a tiny garden in front where colorful earth flowers grew in neat rows. Paint peeled slightly from the window frames. A child's toy lay forgotten on the front steps. Zylara checked her data tablet, her confusion deepening. The coordinates matched. Perhaps human ambassadors lived more modestly than she had been led to believe. Her people valued simplicity, so this would not displease her. But something felt wrong. Before she could investigate further, the front door opened. A man stood in the doorway, and Zylara's breath caught. He was not wearing the formal attire she expected of an ambassador. Instead, he wore stained work clothes, his hands marked with grease and calluses. His dark hair was messy, his face unshaven, and his brown eyes were wide with complete shock. "Can I help you?" the man asked slowly, staring at her as if she were an apparition. "I am Zylara, of the Valesian High Houses," she said formally, bowing in the traditional greeting. "I have come to meet Ambassador Marcus Chen. I believe this is his residence?" The man blinked several times. "Ambassador Chen? Lady, I think you have the wrong address. I'm David Harper. I'm a mechanic. I fix machinery at the shipping yards. There's no ambassador here." Zylara's skin flashed with embarrassed purple patterns. A mistake. The coordinates must have been translated incorrectly. How humiliating. She began to apologize when a sound from inside the house stopped her cold. A child was crying. Not the normal tears of an upset youngster, but sounds of genuine pain and distress. The cries cut through the air with heartbreaking intensity. David's face transformed with worry. "I'm sorry, I have to go. My son needs me. You should contact the Diplomatic Services Office. They can help you find the right place." He started to close the door. "Wait," Zylara said urgently. "Your child is in pain." "What is wrong with him?" David hesitated, grief and exhaustion clear in his expression. "He has a condition. The doctors call it neural degradation syndrome. His nervous system is slowly breaking down. He's always in pain, and it's getting worse. There's no cure, but I appreciate your concern. Good luck finding your ambassador." The cries intensified from within the house. Zylara's entire culture was built on empathy and healing. The Valesians were natural healers, their biology attuned to the suffering of others. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to help this child, stranger or not. "Please, let me try to comfort him," Zylara said quickly. "My people have abilities that might ease his suffering, even temporarily. I am trained in healing arts." David looked torn between hope and suspicion. "Then stay with us every moment. Watch everything I do," Zylara insisted. "But please, let me try. I cannot walk away from a child in such pain. It goes against everything I am. The crying grew louder, more desperate. David's resistance crumbled. All right. But anything strange, and you're out. Understood? He led her inside the modest home. The interior was clean but sparse, with worn furniture and walls covered in drawings, clearly made by a child's hand. They entered a small bedroom where a boy of perhaps 8 years lay on a bed, his small body rigid with pain. His face was wet with tears, his hands clenched into tight fists. Jamie, there's someone here who wants to help, David said softly, kneeling beside the bed. Can you be brave for me? The boy nodded weakly, his breathing ragged. Zylara approached slowly, her training taking over. She dimmed her environmental suit's opacity, so Jamie could see her bioluminescent patterns clearly. Valesians instinctively emitted calming frequencies when near those in distress. She had never tested this ability on humans before, but biology was biology. Perhaps it would work. She began to glow with soft, rhythmic pulses of blue and green light. The patterns were ancient, designed to soothe and comfort. She extended her hand carefully, stopping just above Jamie's arm without touching. Within moments, something remarkable happened. Jamie's breathing began to slow. His clenched fists gradually relaxed. The lines of pain on his young face softened. His eyes, which had been squeezed shut, opened to stare at her in wonder. It doesn't hurt as much, Jamie whispered, his voice filled with amazement. The lady is making it better. The lady. David stared at his son, then at Zylara, his expression transforming from suspicion to disbelief to desperate hope. What are you doing? How is this possible? Zylara kept her patterns steady, maintaining the healing frequency. Our bioelectric fields can sometimes interact with neural pathways. I am essentially providing a stabilizing signal that overrides his pain receptors temporarily. I did not know it would work on humans, but it appears our biology is compatible in this way. For the first time in what looked like years, David Harper smiled. Jamie fell asleep within 20 minutes, his breathing peaceful and steady for the first time in months. David sat on the edge of his son's bed, watching the boy's relaxed face as if seeing a miracle. Zylara maintained her gentle bioluminescent rhythm, afraid to stop and break whatever spell was giving this child relief. How long has he been sick? Zylara asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. David rubbed his tired eyes. 2 years. It started small. He would complain about tingling in his fingers. Then came the headaches, then the pain that never stopped. His voice cracked slightly. His mother had the same condition. She died when Jamie was 5. The doctors told me he inherited it from her. They said there's nothing they can do except manage the pain, but even that stopped working months ago. I am deeply sorry for your loss, Zylara said, her skin flickering with sympathetic purple hues. No parent should have to watch their child suffer this way. Yeah, well, sorry doesn't fix anything, David said, though his tone held no anger, only exhaustion. Look, I appreciate what you're doing, but you need to find your ambassador. This isn't your problem. You have your own life waiting for you. Zylara looked at the sleeping child, then back at David. In my culture, we have a concept called Selthara. It means the sacred obligation that forms when you encounter someone in desperate need. Once you witness suffering and have the power to ease it, you become bound to help. Walking away would dishonor my entire family line. David stood up, pacing the small room. That's very noble. But you can't just stay here. You're supposed to marry an ambassador. That's important. Political stuff. I can't let you throw that away for people you just met. The marriage was arranged for political convenience, Zylara said calmly. This child's life is real. His pain is real. Your love for him is real. Which do you think matters more? Before David could answer, Zylara's communication device chimed softly. She glanced at it and saw multiple urgent messages from the Valesian Diplomatic Corps and the Human Coordination Office. They were searching for her. The transport pod's location had been tracked. Officials would arrive soon. They are coming to find me, Zylara said. I need to make a decision quickly. David looked conflicted. You should go. I mean, look at this place. We're nobody special. Jamie and me, we'll figure something out. We always do. How? Zylara asked directly. What will you figure out? Your human medicine cannot help him. But I can. My people's bioelectric frequencies interact with his nervous system in a way that provides relief. Did you not see the change in him? For how long? David challenged. You can't stay here forever. Glowing at my kid. You have responsibilities. A whole diplomatic marriage thing. I won't let you ruin your life for us. Zylara stood, her full height only reaching David's shoulder. Despite her small stature, her presence filled the room with quiet determination. What if this is not temporary? What if prolonged exposure to Valesian biorhythms could actually heal him? David froze. What are you saying? I am saying I need time to study his condition properly. I am trained in biomedical sciences. Give me access to his medical records. Let me examine him thoroughly, and I will tell you if there is real hope or just temporary comfort. Zylara's skin glowed with earnest golden light. I am asking for a few days. Let me try before you send me away. And your ambassador? Your marriage? Let me worry about that, Zylara said firmly. David looked at his sleeping son, seeing peace on Jamie's face that had been absent for so long. The decision was already made, even if he struggled to accept it. Okay. A few days. But when the officials come looking, you need to be the one to explain why you're not where you're supposed to be. That conversation came sooner than expected. Within an hour, 3 official vehicles arrived outside the small house. Representatives from both the Valesian Diplomatic Corps and Human Coordination Services knocked urgently on the door. David answered, with Zylara standing calmly behind him. A stern Valesian official named Korath spoke first, his skin flashing with irritated red patterns. Zylara, of the High Houses. You were expected at Ambassador Chen's residence 4 hours ago. This disappearance has caused significant concern and embarrassment. You must come with us immediately. I cannot leave right now, Zylara said simply. A human official, a woman named Director Stevens, stepped forward. Miss Zylara, I understand there may have been confusion with the coordinates. But this delay is creating a diplomatic incident. Ambassador Chen is waiting. The marriage ceremony is scheduled for tomorrow. Then it will need to be rescheduled, Zylara replied. There is a child here who requires my help. I am staying to provide medical assistance. Korath's patterns turned from red to dark purple, indicating shock. You would abandon a ceremonial union between our peoples for a random human child? Have you lost your mind? David bristled at the word random. But Zylara placed a calming hand on his arm. I have found my mind, actually. This child suffers from neural degradation syndrome. My bioelectric field provides him relief that your politics cannot. I choose to stay. Director Stevens tried a gentler approach. We understand your compassion, but surely there are human doctors who can care for this boy. Your presence here serves a greater purpose. Think of the alliance between our peoples. I am thinking of it, Zylara said. What kind of alliance is built on ignoring suffering? If our peoples cannot show compassion to individuals, what good is a political marriage? The officials exchanged worried glances. This was not going according to plan. Korath made a final attempt. The High Council will demand your return to the Valesian homeworld. You will face consequences for breaking the marriage agreement. Then I will face them, Zylara said quietly. But I will not leave this child when I have the power to help him. From the bedroom, Jamie's small voice called out. Dad? The light is gone. It hurts again. Without hesitation, Zylara excused herself and returned to the bedroom. Through the open door, the officials watched as she resumed her bioluminescent patterns, and Jamie's pained expression eased once more. David turned to the officials. You heard the lady. She's staying. Now, unless you plan to drag her out while she's helping my son, I suggest you leave and tell your ambassador that something more important came up. Director Stevens sighed. This is going to create serious problems. Sometimes the right thing does, David replied, closing the door firmly. The next 3 days passed in a rhythm of healing and discovery. Zylara spent most of her time with Jamie, maintaining her bioluminescent patterns while studying his medical records on her data tablet. David went to work during the day but rushed home during every break, anxious to check on his son. Each time he returned, he found Jamie more energetic and comfortable than he had been in months. On the morning of the 4th day, Jamie sat up in bed by himself for the first time in weeks. He smiled at Zylara, his young face glowing with genuine happiness. "Can we play a game today? I feel good enough to play." Zylara's skin shimmered with joyful yellow patterns. "Of course we can. What would you like to play? I have a puzzle in the closet. We never finished it because I always hurt too much to concentrate," Jamie said excitedly. "Can we try now?" David watched from the doorway, his eyes growing moist. He had forgotten what his son looked like. Without pain clouding his expression, this alien woman, who owed them nothing, had given him back glimpses of the happy child Jamie used to be. While Jamie retrieved his puzzle, David's communication device buzzed. He glanced at the screen and his face tightened. "It's a news alert. We're on the media feeds." Zylara looked up with concern. "What are they saying?" David read aloud, his voice strained. "Valesian bride abandons diplomatic marriage for unknown human family. Sources claim the decision threatens the alliance between species. Ambassador Chen calls the situation deeply unfortunate and disrespectful." The doorbell rang sharply, making them all jump. David answered it to find a crowd of news reporters gathered outside his modest home, cameras already recording. Behind them stood Korath and 2 other Valesian officials, their skin patterns flashing with serious dark blues and grays. "David Harper," Korath announced formally. "We have an official summons from the Valesian High Council. Zylara must return to the homeworld immediately to answer for her actions. She has violated sacred diplomatic agreements and brought dishonor to her family." One reporter shouted a question. "Is it true? An alien is living in your home? What made her choose you over the ambassador?" Another yelled, "Are you holding her here against her will?" David tried to close the door, but Korath placed his hand against it. "This is not a request. Human. The alliance between our peoples is at stake. Every hour she remains here damages relationships that took years to build. She must leave now." Zylara appeared behind David, Jamie holding her hand nervously. The cameras immediately focused on them, capturing the image of the glowing alien woman and the small human boy. "I am not being held here," Zylara said clearly, addressing the cameras. "I stay by my own choice. This child needs help that only my people can provide. I will not abandon him." A reporter called out, "What about your responsibility to Ambassador Chen? To the alliance?" "I have a greater responsibility to this child," Zylara replied. "My people believe in Selthara, the sacred obligation to help those in need. How can I claim to represent Valesian values while ignoring a suffering child?" Korath's patterns turned angry red. "You twist our values to justify your selfishness. Selthara applies to your own people, not to random aliens you encounter. The High Council has already decided. You will return home, and you will face judgment for breaking your oath." Jamie squeezed Zylara's hand tighter, fear crossing his face. "You're leaving?" Zylara knelt down to his level. "I do not want to, Jamie. But my people are very angry with me." "Because you're helping me?" the boy asked, his voice small. "Because I chose you over politics," Zylara said gently. David felt helpless rage building in his chest. His son was finally improving, finally smiling again, and these officials wanted to take away his only hope. "You can't force her to leave. She's an adult, making her own decisions." "Actually, we can," Director Stevens said, appearing from behind the Valesian officials. "The diplomatic agreements are clear. Diplomatic agreements are clear. If the Valesian government demands her return, we must cooperate." "I'm sorry, David, but this is out of my hands." Zylara stood, her skin flickering with resigned gray patterns. "I will go peacefully. I will not cause an incident between our governments. But first, I must speak with Jamie's doctors. I have been documenting everything I have learned about his condition. Someone must continue the treatment protocol I have developed. There is no treatment protocol, Korath said dismissively. You have provided temporary comfort with your presence. Once you leave, the child will return to his previous state. This is why your sacrifice means nothing. You cannot stay forever. Perhaps not forever, Zylara said quietly. But I have discovered something important these past few days. The improvement in Jamie's condition is not just temporary pain relief. His neural pathways are actually beginning to heal. Prolonged exposure to Valesian bioelectric fields appears to reverse the degradation process. David's heart leaped. Are you serious? He could actually get better? With months of consistent treatment, possibly even full recovery, Zylara confirmed. But this requires a Valesian presence. Without it, the healing will stop, and his condition will return. One of the reporters immediately broadcast this revelation. Within minutes, social media networks exploded with the story. A child who could be saved. An alien woman sacrificing her future to heal him. A government demanding she abandon him to die. Public opinion began shifting rapidly. Comments flooded in from across Earth and the Valesian colonies. Parents of sick children begged for access to this treatment. Scientists demanded more information. Citizens questioned why politics should prevent saving lives. Ambassador Chen appeared on the news feeds an hour later, his expression troubled. I have followed this situation closely. While I understand the diplomatic complications, I cannot ignore the humanitarian aspect. A child's life hangs in the balance. Perhaps we need to reconsider our approach. The Valesian High Council, however, remained unmoved. A second official statement arrived that evening, this time more severe. Zylara of the High Houses has 48 hours to return to the Valesian homeworld or face permanent exile. She will be stripped of her family name, her titles, and all rights as a Valesian citizen. This is our final offer. That night, David found Zylara sitting in his small kitchen, her skin dim and colorless with sadness. Jamie had finally fallen asleep, comfortable and peaceful. You should go, David said, though the words felt like poison. I can't let you lose everything for us. Zylara looked up at him with luminescent eyes. I already decided. I stay with Jamie. My title, my family name, my homeworld, none of it matters if I become the kind of person who abandons a child to save herself. But exile? Never seeing your home again? This can be my home, Zylara said simply. If you will have me. David sat down across from her, overwhelmed by her courage. You barely know us. I know enough, she replied. I know you love your son more than anything. I know Jamie deserves a chance to live without pain. I know doing the right thing sometimes costs everything. That is enough. Outside, the media circus continued. Cameras still pointed at the small house, where an alien woman had chosen compassion over duty, and where a father and son had found unexpected hope. The 48-hour deadline approached like a storm cloud. Zylara had made her decision, but David could not shake the guilt that weighed on him. This woman was losing everything because of them. He lay awake at night, watching Jamie sleep peacefully, wondering if there was another way. On the morning of the second day, an unexpected visitor arrived. Dr. Sarah Kim, a pediatric neurologist from the Central Medical Institute, knocked on their door with a briefcase full of equipment. Mr. Harper, my name is Dr. Kim. I have been following your son's case in the media. I would like to examine him and study what Zylara has been doing, if you will permit it. David welcomed her inside cautiously. Why? What's your interest in this? Dr. Kim's eyes were intense with scientific curiosity. Because if what Zylara claims is true, this could revolutionize treatment for thousands of children suffering from neural degenerative diseases. I have 17 patients with the same condition as Jamie. They are all dying slowly, and I have no way to help them. But if Valesian bioelectric therapy actually works, we need to document everything and make it available to others. Thanks for watching. Zylara emerged from Jamie's room, her patterns showing cautious hope. You believe my research has value? My research? I believe any treatment that shows real results has value, doctor. Kim said firmly. But we need proper documentation, scientific evidence, medical records that prove this is not just temporary relief, but actual healing. May I examine Jamie and review your findings? For the next 6 hours, Dr. Kim conducted thorough tests while Zylara explained her theories. She showed the doctor her detailed notes on bioelectric frequencies, neural pathway responses, and the progressive improvement in Jamie's condition. Dr. Kim compared the recent scans with Jamie's medical history, and her expression shifted from skepticism to amazement. "This is remarkable," Dr. Kim whispered, studying the data. "His neural degradation has not just stopped, it is actually reversing. The damaged pathways are regenerating. I have never seen anything like this." "Then you understand why I cannot leave," Zylara said quietly. Dr. Kim nodded slowly. "I understand. But I also understand that you alone cannot treat every sick child who needs this. We need a bigger solution. We need a bigger solution." That evening, David sat at his kitchen table, thinking about Dr. Kim's words. A bigger solution. His mind turned over possibilities. And suddenly, an idea struck him. He grabbed his communication device and began typing furiously. "What are you doing?" Zylara asked, bringing him a cup of tea. "I'm writing to Ambassador Chen," David said. "Directly. No diplomatic channels, no official representatives. Just a father asking another human being for help." He wrote from his heart, explaining everything. How Zylara had stumbled into their lives by accident. How she had stayed out of pure compassion. How Jamie was healing for the first time. How Dr. Kim had confirmed the treatment's effectiveness. And finally, how thousands of children could benefit from this discovery if only politics would step aside. He ended the message simply. "You wanted a marriage to unite our peoples. Zylara has found something better. A way to save children from both our worlds. Is not that a stronger bond than any ceremony?" David sent the message, not knowing if it would even be read. But 3 hours later, his device chimed with a response. Ambassador Chen wanted to visit the next morning. The ambassador arrived quietly, without media fanfare or official entourage. He was a tall man with kind eyes and gray hair at his temples. David, Zylara, and Dr. Kim met him in the small living room while Jamie played in his bedroom, his laughter drifting through the house like music. "That sound," Ambassador Chen said, listening to the boy's joy. "That is what this is really about, is it not?" "Yes," Zylara said simply. "That child was dying. Now he is playing. How could I choose anything else?" Chen sat down heavily in David's worn armchair. "I was angry when you did not arrive. I felt insulted. Honestly. A carefully planned alliance, reduced to nothing by what I saw as carelessness. But then I watched the media coverage. I saw the medical reports Dr. Kim shared with the press. I read your father's message, Mr. Harper. And I realized something important." He looked directly at Zylara. "A political marriage would have been symbolic. Photographs and ceremonies. A show of unity with no real substance. But what you have done here is genuine. You have proven that humans and Valesians can form bonds based on shared compassion, not just diplomatic convenience." "I did not mean to insult you or damage the alliance," Zylara said softly. "You did not damage it," Chen said, surprising everyone. "You transformed it into something more valuable. I have a proposal for all of you." He pulled out his data tablet and showed them a document he had been drafting. "Instead of a political marriage, I am proposing a human Valesian medical exchange program. Zylara would stay on Earth as the founding director. We would establish a research facility where Valesian healers and human doctors work together to treat neurodegenerative diseases. The program would benefit children from both our worlds." Dr. Kim leaned forward eagerly. "Are you serious? The Valesian government would agree to this?" "I have been in contact with moderate members of their High Council," Chen explained. "Many of them are uncomfortable with the harsh exile sentence. They see the public response, the support Zylara has received from both humans and Valesians. They are looking for a way to resolve this that does not make them appear cruel. But I broke the marriage agreement, Xylara said. They demanded my return. And you will return, Chen said. Briefly. To formally dissolve the marriage contract by mutual agreement rather than abandonment. Then you come back to Earth as a medical researcher, not a runaway bride. Your honor is restored, the alliance is strengthened through scientific cooperation, and children like Jamie get the help they need. David felt hope blooming in his chest. Would the council actually accept this? I believe so, Chen said. Especially after Dr. Kim's medical reports went public. There is enormous pressure now from Valesian citizens who have sick children too. They want access to this treatment. The council can either appear heartless by preventing it, or they can embrace it as a new form of cooperation. Xylara's skin began glowing with cautious golden patterns. What about Jamie? I cannot leave him during treatment. The facility would be built here, near your home, Chen said, gesturing around the modest house. Close enough that you can continue treating Jamie while also helping others. Mr. Harper, we would need your cooperation as well. Jamie would become the primary case study, and your home would need to accommodate regular medical monitoring. David laughed, tears forming in his eyes. You want to turn our lives into a research project to save my son and help other kids? Where do I sign? There is one more thing, Chen added. This program would need significant funding and resources. I am proposing that both governments contribute equally, showing true partnership. But it will take time to organize everything. Months, possibly a year. Xylara's exile deadline is tomorrow, David said, his joy fading slightly. Which is why I am here tonight, Chen said. I have arranged for an emergency session with the Valesian Council via holographic conference in 2 hours. We will present this proposal together. Dr. Kim has agreed to share her medical findings. I will argue for the diplomatic benefits, and Xylara, you will need to address the council directly and request their forgiveness while offering this new path forward. Xylara stood, her entire body shimmering with nervous energy. And if they refuse? Then we fight harder, David said, standing beside her. You did not give up on Jamie. We will not give up on you, Ambassador Chen smiled. Exactly. This is what real alliance looks like. Not ceremonies and contracts, but people fighting together for what matters. Shall we begin? The holographic conference chamber materialized in Ambassador Chen's secure facility. Xylara stood in the center of a glowing circle, her image projected across space to the Valesian High Council chambers on her distant homeworld. Around her, translucent figures of 12 council members appeared, their skin patterns ranging from stern grays to angry reds. David watched from outside the projection field, his hands clenched nervously. Dr. Kim stood beside him, her tablet ready with all the medical evidence. Ambassador Chen took his position as mediator, his calm presence anchoring the tense atmosphere. High Chancellor Valesh spoke first, her ancient voice carrying weight across the stars. Xylara of the former high houses, you stand before us in disgrace. You abandoned a sacred duty, violated diplomatic agreements, and brought shame upon your family. We granted you 48 hours to return. That time has nearly expired. Why should we not proceed with permanent exile? Xylara's skin flickered with humble blue patterns. Honored Chancellor, I do not ask you to excuse my actions. I broke the marriage agreement, and I accept responsibility for that decision, but I ask you to consider what I found instead of what I abandoned. She gestured, and holographic images appeared around her. Medical scans of Jamie before and after treatment. Charts showing neural pathway regeneration. Testimonials from Dr. Kim and other human physicians. Images of the boy playing, smiling, living without pain for the first time in years. I found a child dying from a disease that human medicine could not cure, Xylara continued, her voice steady. I discovered that our natural bioelectric abilities can heal what their technology cannot. I have documented everything. The treatment works, Honored Council. It truly works. One council member, Korath, who had come to David's house, spoke angrily. You speak of one human child. What of the thousands of Elysian families who supported the alliance? What of the diplomatic relations you endangered? Ambassador Chen stepped forward. If I may address the council. I am Marcus Chen, the human who was to marry Zylara. I was initially offended by her absence. I admit, but I have come to see this situation differently. A symbolic marriage would have created a ceremonial bond between our peoples. What Zylara has created is something far more powerful. He activated his own holographic display, showing news feeds from across both worlds. Messages of support for Zylara. Desperate pleas from parents of sick children. Scientific communities on both planets calling for cooperation. Public opinion polls showing overwhelming approval for medical partnership over political marriage. She has proven that our peoples can unite through compassion and shared purpose, Chen said. I propose we formalize this into something lasting. Not a marriage between two individuals, but a partnership between our civilizations focused on healing and saving lives. Dr. Kim added her testimony next. Honorable Council members, I am a physician who treats dying children. I have 17 young patients with the same condition as Jamie Harper. Without intervention, they will all die within 2 years. But Zylara's research shows a path to save them. This treatment could help thousands of children across multiple species. How can we let politics prevent such a breakthrough? High Chancellor Velesh's patterns shifted to contemplative purple. You speak of treatment, but this requires Velesian participation. One healer cannot save thousands, and we cannot simply send our people to serve humans without proper structure and agreement, which is why we propose the Human Velesian Medical Exchange Program, Chen said, presenting the detailed proposal. A joint research facility where your healers and our doctors work together. Both governments contribute equally. Knowledge is shared freely. Children from both our worlds receive treatment. This becomes the foundation for true cooperation between our civilizations. Another council member named Sarith spoke, her patterns showing curiosity. And Zylara's role in this program? She would serve as founding director, Chen explained. Her research becomes the basis for the entire initiative. She returns to Earth not as a runaway bride, but as an honored medical pioneer representing Velesian healing arts. Her status is restored, and the alliance is strengthened through scientific cooperation rather than political ceremony. The council members conferred among themselves, their patterns flashing in complex conversations. David watched anxiously, praying they would see reason. Everything hung on this moment. Finally, High Chancellor Velesh spoke again. Zylara, if we agree to this proposal, you understand you would be bound to Earth for many years? You would live among humans, work with human physicians, and dedicate your life to this program. You would rarely see your homeworld. Zylara's skin glowed with determined gold. Honored Chancellor, I have already found where I belong. I arrived at the wrong address by accident, but it led me to exactly where I needed to be. If you grant me this opportunity, I will prove that our peoples can build something beautiful together, not through political arrangements, but through genuine partnership and shared compassion. The council deliberated for what felt like hours but was only minutes. Finally, Velesh raised her hand for silence. The High Council has reached a decision. Zylara, we acknowledge your violation of duty. However, we also recognize the extraordinary value of your discovery and the overwhelming public support for medical cooperation. David held his breath. Therefore, we agree to dissolve the marriage contract by mutual consent and approve the medical exchange program proposal. Zylara, your family name and status are restored. You will serve as founding director, representing the best of Velesian healing traditions. We expect regular progress reports and full transparency in all research. Relief flooded through David like a tidal wave. Beside him, Dr. Kim let out a breath she had been holding. Ambassador Chen smiled broadly, but Velesh was not finished. However, understand this, Zylara. You carry our hopes now. This program must succeed. If it fails, the consequences for future cooperation between our peoples will be severe. Do you accept this responsibility? Zylara bowed deeply, her entire body shimmering with grateful patterns. I accept, honored Chancellor. I will not fail you, or the children who need our help. The holographic conference ended, and Zylara practically collapsed as the projection faded. David rushed forward to steady her, and she looked up at him with tears of joy in her luminescent eyes. We did it, she whispered. Jamie will receive his full treatment. Other children will be saved. Everything will be all right. You did it, David corrected gently. You chose compassion over duty, and somehow that became something even greater. 6 months later, the Human Valesian Medical Research Center opened its doors on a plot of land adjacent to David's home. The modest house where everything began still stood, now surrounded by state-of-the-art facilities where doctors and healers from 2 worlds worked side by side. Jamie Harper, fully recovered from his previously terminal condition, became the symbol of what cooperation could achieve. He attended the opening ceremony with his father, watching as the first group of sick children arrived for treatment, hope shining in their parents' eyes. Zylara stood at the podium, her skin glowing with proud golden patterns as she addressed the crowd. This center exists because a transport pod delivered me to the wrong address, because a father opened his door to a stranger, because a child's cry for help was answered. What began as a mistake became the foundation for something extraordinary. She looked at David and Jamie in the front row. I came to Earth expecting a political marriage. Instead, I found a family. I found purpose. I found home. Ambassador Chen, now a close friend and advisor to the program, added his own remarks. This facility represents the future of our alliance, not ceremonies and signatures on documents, but real people working together to solve real problems. This is how civilizations truly unite. As the ceremony concluded, reporters asked Zylara if she ever regretted missing her arranged marriage. She smiled, her skin shimmering with absolute certainty. I regret nothing. The wrong address led me to the right place. Sometimes the greatest journeys begin with mistakes that turn into miracles. That evening, Zylara sat in David's garden while Jamie played nearby, his laughter filling the air. David brought her tea and sat beside her, both of them watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. Thank you, David said quietly. For everything. For staying when you could have left. For fighting when it would have been easier to give up. For giving my son his life back. Zylara's hand found his, their fingers intertwining naturally. Thank you for opening your door to a confused alien bride. For trusting me with your son. For becoming my family. Is that what we are? David asked softly. Family? If you will have us, Zylara replied, her skin glowing with warm, affectionate hues. Jamie calls me his star mother. And you? You have become something I never expected to find. What's that? Home, she said simply. In the distance, the new medical center glowed with lights, as healers and doctors worked through the night, saving children who would have been lost. What began as a navigation error and a child's cry for help had transformed into a beacon of hope spanning 2 worlds. Zylara had arrived at the wrong address. But in doing so, she had found exactly where she belonged. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.